Inside of this box is one of the newest handheld gaming PCs to hit the market, the Legion Go S. A little brother of sorts to the ever-popular Legion Go, though the S, on the other hand, is aiming to be simpler, of course, less powerful, but a more affordable option compared to its flagship counterpart. Now, full disclosure, Lenovo are not sponsoring this video here on Denki, though they did send it out to Overclock Media for us to take an early look. Now, if I had to hazard a guess, this is probably the Legion Go S itself. This is just the console. There is no carrying case included, which is unfortunate, but it is what it is. This over here should be our included charger, which I believe is 65 watts. But yeah, let's take a look at the Legion Go itself. Slip packing is off, lift off the styrofoam, and oh my god, this is huge. Wow. I mean, on first impression, I will say, even though this is large and might seem uncomfortable to hold, it actually fills your grip pretty well. For size comparison, I don't have a Steam Deck with me, but I do have an ROG Ally X. And as you can see, the Legion Go S absolutely dwarfs the ROG. It's actually a little bit taller, and it is thicker as well. I don't think it has anything to do with the battery capacity, since this guy has a 55 watt-hour cell, compared to the 70 or so on our Ally X. But I think the reason is more because of the cooling. Just looking through the back here without opening up the device. Actually, you know what? Maybe I will open up the device. Okay. That took slightly longer than I wanted to, but yeah, those are components. On second thought, while I figured the extra heft would have been more justified by extra cooling, it looks like all you're really getting is a less claustrophobic setup here, which gives you more room to do repairs, but that's pretty much it. Lenovo probably could have made this a little easier to get into, especially since some users might want to, down the line, upgrade their own M2 SSD, or honestly do any of their own repairs. You have to undo a bunch of screws, pop off the top panel, which is not really intuitive. There's nothing that suggests you need to do that. Still, at least you can do it. Looking beyond the size of the Legion Go S, it is honestly pretty standard stuff. The quality of the buttons here are pretty good. They're almost reminiscent of a first-party Xbox controller. I also like that you get hair trigger locks as well, meaning you can limit how much travel you have on the triggers, which is useful if you hop between game genres such as shooting games or driving games, where you might want that variability. As far as ports go, on the bottom we have a micro SD card slot for storage expandability, which I believe in my briefing material says that it's rated for SD 3.0, which I think tops out at UHS 1 for speeds. So not the most blazing fast in the world, but will align you with the Steam Deck. On the top, we have a 3.5mm headphone jack, as well as two USB 4 Type-C ports, which will give us 40 gigabit data, DisplayPort 1.4, as well as fast charging. The fast bandwidth here is especially nice to see, since I know some people do like to plug these into eGPUs and large monitors. Honestly, if I had a little more time to play with this, I'd probably try that out myself. Now, probably the most disappointing thing about the Legion Go S, at least for me right now, is the fact that it doesn't have the coolest feature that made the Legion Go what it is. I do miss the freedom of having those detachable controllers and the built-in mouse as well to precisely navigate windows. There is a bit of a consolation prize here on the front in the form of a little tiny trackpad that clicks in, but it just isn't the same. Alright, so I spent a short bit of time playing around with the Legion Go S. And I think overall it seems like a pretty decent package, at least if the price checks out. More on that in a second. On paper, this device is equipped with a Ryzen Z2 Go chip. And if you're wondering what the heck that even is, it's actually an APU that's exclusively available for the Legion Go S. That's a CPU with 4 cores, 8 threads, clocked at 3 GHz, integrated RDNA graphics of some variety, and using the TDP sliders using the Legion overlay in Windows, you're able to crank up to 40 watts of performance off this chip, which is pretty cool. You can get either 16 or 32 gigs of LPDDR5X RAM. I have the 32 gig option, and you can also go up to 1 terabyte of SSD storage. For display, we have an 8-inch LCD with a 1900 by 1200 resolution, 120 Hz refresh rate, and it'll peak at 500 nits of brightness. Yeah, it's no OLED, but at least the screen looks pretty good and sharp, especially at this pixel density. Though of course, depending on how graphically demanding the titles you're looking to play are, that 120 Hz refresh rate is definitely more of a luxury than it is a necessity. And with that, let's talk a little bit about the actual performance you're getting here. Now, obviously, this is something that a lot of people are curious about when it comes to handheld gaming PCs, but specifically for me with this new Ryzen Z2 Go APU, what I want to know is, where exactly does this hardware lie on the handheld gaming totem pole? Well, very loosely speaking, especially with my limited amount of testing time, what I found is that the Z2 Go places under the Z1 Extreme that you found in the original Legion Go, but performs better than the base Z1 that you would find on, say, the entry-level ROG Ally. However, in a vacuum, I was neither blown away or disappointed by the performance in the games that I tried, keeping in mind that I was plugged in the whole time, running at max TDP, playing
Marvel Rivals,
which also happened to be the first time I've ever touched the game. I was able to get a mix of medium and high settings at 1000p with FSR 3.0 locked at 60 FPS. It looked great, it felt great, and the game was pretty fun. Cyberpunk 2077 was also a similar story. There, I was trying to strike a balance between graphics and frames, and it ended up hovering at around 65 FPS at 1000p medium. FSR 3 set to quality, though I kept ray tracing off in favor of bumping up textures. Overall, the hardware is pretty capable of what I was expecting for a more entry-level Legion Go. And the reason why I'm using air quotes there is because at this moment, I don't quite know how much this device costs. And honestly speaking, none of this performance talk really matters if we can't size up the value proposition to the competition. But thankfully, in about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to be leaving for CES in Vegas to not only find that out, but also to get a glimpse at that special Lord Gaben model. And so, with the magic of editing, I am here at CES with the Legion Go S powered by SteamOS. As you can see, it basically looks the same as the model that we took a look at back at home, but comes in a rather neat looking dark purple colorway, though the lighting in the demo showcase unfortunately does not display that very well, but here's a press photo, which I think looks way better. Honestly, I think I prefer it over the white. It's a little more low-key, but still has a subtle pop of color. In this current era where the Steam Deck really streamlined handheld PC gaming, the fact that the OS and the platform underpinning it is now going to natively ship on a high-volume handheld PC from a major brand is a big deal. As far as my experience goes with the Legion Go S, with the even more limited testing time, it is as you would expect. It gives off Steam Deck vibes, just in a different body. In fact, some of the menu items call this thing a Steam Deck, at least for right now. This is awesome, especially given that Windows 11 can be quite a point of contention when it comes to handhelds, even despite the universal compatibility with games on Steam and other platforms. whether this is because of the heavy Copilot AI push or the fact that the UX is just clunky as hell on handheld. Okay, so now that I have it, let's talk about Legion Go S pricing. Admittedly, the Legion is quite a bit more expensive than I was expecting it to be, with the SteamOS version starting at $499 when it comes out in May. I do believe this is somewhat competitive compared to the Steam Deck OLED, though it might not be enough to convince people to choose the Legion over Valve's incredibly solid offering. So that's the SteamOS model, but when it comes to the Windows versions, well, the launch one, which comes with 32 gigs of RAM and a 1TB SSD, the one that I have in my hand right now, well, this is gonna go for $729 when it releases this month. And that is a ton of money for what you're getting, especially considering that cheaper Z2 Go models are going to be coming out later this year with less RAM and storage, but will be available for $599. Though even at that price, I'm not entirely sold. Putting this aside, what I got more out of CES was the potential of the future of gaming handhelds. With the carrot dangling in front of us of maybe more Steam-powered machines down the line, this means dev and publisher support can only get better for the platform. Perhaps this could standardize hardware, adding more consistency to the handheld experience. Personally, for me, I would love to see alternative models of high-end, more powerful devices like the Legion Go 2 with that powerful AMD Z2 Extreme running SteamOS as well, for those really looking for more insano premium performance. But let me know, what do you think about these gaming handhelds and the Legion Go S in the comments below? And otherwise, thanks for watching this video on Denki channel.